Okay, we do have a quorum this time, so I think what I'll do is begin the meeting, and if the others come, this is an odd time, so they may show up at 10 o'clock. So we'll see. It is now 9:31. Let me call this meeting to order, please. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Roll call of the commission members, please, Karen. Present.
Lee Van Landijk,
Present.
Don Siep,
Don, you're on stage. Don?
Sherry Hilsheim, Van Nelson, Patrick Metz.
Okay, we do need that. We know that Don is with us. I spoke to him just a moment ago. So would you declare a quorum? Yes, I could do that. We do have a quorum. Is that appropriate?
Yes, it's a chair responsibility to declare a quorum.
Okay.
It's going to be, with Don not responding at the moment, I would say we should try to follow back on him within the next few minutes and not make any types of significant discussions or actions without establishing that he's engaged.
Understood and agreed. We can move forward to, well, should we approve the agenda? We might need a quorum for that. Don Siep, are you there? Don? Don? Sue, wake Don up. Don, are you on mute? Or Don, you're muted.
I do believe that, and correct me if I'm wrong, please, Clint, but I do believe that the chair can agenda and is posting without a motion. That it's just number 5 where we have to stop.
Leave my telephone on so you can participate in the meeting. If you're able to unmute it, we'll join you on screen then. So here you are, part of the meeting. We do have a quorum. There's 3 of us. Okay. Okay. So just speak loudly into your phone if you don't mind, and that way you participate. Excellent. So we'll move forward then. Number 4, we'll approve the posting of the agenda. Karen, it's been posted. Everything's good.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, can you hear me?
I'm going to hold you next to the speaker, and we'll kind of, yes.
muted here.
There you go.
Okay, so I've got you right next to the mic so everybody can hear you,
Yes, I can hear you.
but I've got feedback on my end. Okay, we went through 4, we approved the agenda and its posting. We'll do number 5, review and approve the October meeting minutes. Anybody would like to make a motion on that? Approve the minutes? Sherry, would you like to? So,
Actually, I was just reading them and the suggestion box description is more discussion about that. Are we going to have more discussion about that? Anyway, it just kind of looks like it's a resolved item. Thought we were going to have more discussion about that today.
yeah,
But anyway, more, I guess, you know, it could be amended to more discussion. Right?
I believe so,
I think
Karen.
that's what I heard.
I think at the last meeting, it was determined that at this time, the county is not ready to move forward with that.
Okay, Clint, did you want to add to anything? That?
That's my position on it. If you folks want to adamantly pursue some type of different course of actions, by all means, you can take an action of, we would like to recommend to have it look like this, and I can add it to my working list of things that we're going to do, but that's my position as of right now.
Okay, so as it stands, we'll leave that be, and then we can put it on maybe the next agenda. We can skip forward. Number 12, future agenda items. Let's add that to our next agenda, okay? Yes, sir.
As I recollect the conversation last meeting, we discussed it and we sort of by consensus decided to wait until the commission is formed so they would have an opportunity to review it and consult with Mr. Landry.
Okay. Is that, so we've taken care of that problem?
If it's a recollection of my memory.
Okay. Sherry, what do you think of that?
Go ahead.
Sorry, Don, would you just summarize that again? I'm sorry.
Yes, we had some conversation about this at the last meeting.
Right.
The committee, first of all, the committee took a vote to accept it the way it is for now, to let it stand the way it is for now. And we had a kind of a conversation by consensus that we may want to allow the commission, when it's formed, to have an opportunity to review, give input, and consult with Mr. Landrick and the oversight committee about it at that time. So that seems to be my recollection, and I think Mr. Langrick probably has a better memory than I do, but that's my recollection.
Okay, thank you, Don. Sherry?
As long as we can bring it up another time and have a fuller discussion with whichever body we need to do that with, then yes, that's fine.
Okay. Karen, any more comment on that?
No, I think the minutes are good as they stand.
Okay. Clint?
Overall, I guess, just in context of minutes, I know we kind of go through this dance, each meeting. I guess I know that we're stuck kind of in the two values of trying to capture transparency and trying to capture everything that was discussed. But just from previous experiences, sometimes this is kind of what you arrive in, is trying to reflect back on what the intentions were and where the consensus was. So I guess I would recommend considering with the minutes that is a way to swing the pendulum back, is if we get back to kind of just recording actionable types of items on motion to do this and seconded it, discussion points thereof, and then taking actions on it. It helps solidify it a little bit more, so we have a formalized, confirmed action language, and we get the body's consent on it. versus just trying to capture discussion points without having the motion on the table, if that makes sense.
As Karen?
I would definitely say that I agree with the shorter verbiage on the minutes, especially now that we're videotaping. If somebody wanted to go back and review exactly verbatim what was said, they can.
Okay.
The minutes would only reflect the actions and motions as the county administrator suggested.
Okay, if we were to accept the minutes as they stand with the understanding that we have right now, we've got, I suspect we're gonna skip December's meeting because we're too close to the holidays. So our next meeting will be in January, so far as I'm concerned. And that will give us 2 months' time between this meeting and the next time we meet for other committees and groups to meet to consider this point. And then we could bring it up in January and maybe move forward a little with a little more solid ground under us. So does that sound reasonable? Okay, so that's kind of the direction we go. So Sherry, do you have any other concerns about the minutes?
Yeah, mainly it was the process that we were talking about in terms of how we did that, and then if there were any negative things that would go up to your office.
Mr. Chairman, I think I am unmuted now.
Oh, there you are.
I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
I am unmuted now.
Oh, good. Okay. Well, I'm going to get you off the cell phone then.
I think what the chair is asking is specifically about item number 5,
Right.
if about the minutes. Okay.
So
Well, that was my concern, is that they were stated correctly in the minutes for us to entertain it further.
So that is no longer a problem at this point. We'll just kind of continue. So is there anything else that you're concerned with in the minutes?
No, Mr. Chairman, I approve the minutes as they stand then.
Okay, so that's your motion, and I will second that then. Don, we've got to move in a second to accept the minutes from our last meeting, our October meeting. Any other discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so that's been passed. Number 6, suggestion box and survey questions. Karen,
That was just to reiterate after the meeting had finalized because Clint left early. So I was to get with him and just reiterate the fact that that's how the county policy stands, which
Okay.
it is.
so there's really nothing further
No,
to say
it's
to
not.
that. Okay, thank you. Number 7, the aid policy.
So this was listed last month that I would get with the core council and have him review the policy, the new core council. And his findings were exactly as the last core council. He said that he sees that it looks good to him. There's nothing legally objectionable. And I asked him if there's anything to cut out. And he said that he liked leaving the legislative statutes in there. He said the more the better. And so I did talk with him and he said that it's good as it stands.
Okay, so there's really nothing that needs to be done.
Nope. So it's been reviewed by 2 core councils and approved by this committee and it stands.
That sounds good. Thank you, Karen. Okay, we'll move forward to number 8, then the monthly visitors log.
That's in the packet that you were provided.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on the visitors log? Got to bring mine up on my screen.
Mr. Chair, I just want to make it, you did skip number 8.
Did I?
And that's fine. We can come back to it.
Well, that's, I said monthly visitors log. That's,
Yeah, he skipped a monthly visitors log.
I did say it, yes. I think you jumped one ahead, Karen. So yeah, we'll do the monthly visitors log right now. You have a report on that, or?
The monthly visitors log was shared in the packet. The
I'm
monthly.
not finding it on mine. Strategic planning framework. Here, I see it. So we've got the completion of October. How would you say that compares with the others? Pretty typical, pretty standard?
It's one of those months where people are trying to finish up cutting wood and they're trying to get like outdoor tasks done. We usually tend to see things pick up before the holidays, in between Thanksgiving and December. So October was slower, but it's because of everybody. I mean, it's harvest season. It's a myriad of different things. So I would say that they were average. They were not higher than normal.
And projecting into November and December as things settle down with the change of the seasons, you normally expect to see more at that time?
We do. It's normally after the holidays. People start looking forward to tax season and they start thinking about their healthcare benefits. That's when we usually see that a little bit of a spike.
What about those veterans that are maybe having mental difficulties coming up with the hospitals? Do you see any rise? With people with specific problems and holidays? I know that can be a real downer for some.
You'd have to contact the hospitals. I don't get reports like that from them.
Okay. But as people come in to see you, is everything's good? Any other comments on that?
No, not at this time.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. As on the screen, we've got through October and November 1st. So we can then move forward to number 9, the VA forms log.
It's also included in the packet. If you have any questions.
Looks like the numbers keep bouncing between mid-40s to 50 this past time. Seems to be going up just a little bit. You and Peter are pretty well able to keep up with all that?
Correct.
A couple of questions I'm just kind of curious about. It's probably because I don't understand it, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, go ahead, Don.
For the month of October, we had a conference in Fond du Lac, right, Karen?
Correct.
That to which both you and Peter attended. I was curious in recording your calls for that week. There were the normal high number of calls recorded each day. Can you explain how you do that?
The number of calls.
During the week, you were both out of the office, so yet you have recorded calls for each day of the week.
Calls also include emails and texts. And when I'm out of the office, I post my personal cell phone number at the door and in my email responses back, so that I do receive phone calls a lot during that week when I'm out of the office.
Well, how do you record the calls that you get each day during your absence? How do you do? Who does that? Do you do that?
My cell phone keeps
What's
track.
What's the process there? You got a column that says calls there, and I know you've explained that includes emails and faxes. So when you come in the following week, where do you find that record of those calls?
My cell phone tracks phone calls that are received in a call log, and then I had my laptop with me at conference, and so I was checking emails daily.
I see. So you have your laptop with you, so you get a daily record of those calls.
Correct.
And so you record those calls from day to day yourself, and not, is that right?
Correct.
Okay, I'm just interested in, I was so surprised that there were the same number of high calls to your office when you were both out of the office. How could you pay attention to what's going on at the meeting with receiving 40 or 50 calls on a given day? Isn't that kind of distracting?
We're given breaks during our conference, and we're usually released before 5 p.m. So I'm
I
able
see.
to catch up with work.
Okay,
after that.
so does your office phone recorder also record those calls?
I guess I don't understand.
Well, I presume
You
that
don't have an
people
answering machine?
let me finish this. People call your office. There's a message apparently that you're out of the office, and you refer them to call you on your cell phone number, correct?
Correct.
So, does that office telephone record the number of calls that have come in on a given day?
I think
Does
you've
it?
got an answering machine, so it would automatically do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have a recording of all those calls.
Yeah. The answering machine when people leave messages.
Yes, okay. Do you have does it record the number of calls, whether it leaves a message or not?
No.
So it doesn't record the hangups.
No.
Okay, that's fine. Just interested in how the process is working here. I appreciate that very much. Now, does your fax machine record the number of faxes? Does it count to give you a tally of the number of faxes that you receive by day?
Yes, the ones that are actually sent to the fax machine.
Okay,
Some
so
of them are actually sent to the phone line itself.
yeah, so when you come back to the office on the following Monday, do you have to go over those recorded calls again in the event that you may not have gotten all of the calls that were for you on your cell phone?
We check the answering machine.
Yes, and so those two sets of numbers are somehow reconciled. The numbers of calls you got on your cell phone and the number of calls you got on your answering machine. Do you reconcile those numbers somehow? How do you keep from doubling up?
I don't, we keep tally marks throughout the day. And
Yes.
so the voicemails that are left, I don't reconcile them into the previous week's numbers. I guess, is that what you're asking?
So Don, I think we're getting a little bit into the weeds with this. I think.
No, I'm not getting into the weeds. I'm interested in how busy her workload is and how the calls are managed. That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Okay, we have a person to speak to your questions. Mrs. Kern?
Wanted to point out that Peter Kern texted that they have caller ID in the office. I think everybody knows that caller ID records the number of people who calls and their phone numbers, so it's very easy for anybody who knows how to use a phone to check who has called, whether that is calls coming in on your cell phone or calls that are received, whether they hang up or leave a message or not. A record of a call received is on a caller ID on your phones, whether it's in the office or someone's cell phone.
Is this one of the other office workers that's speaking?
No, this is Samantha Kern. I'm sorry, it's just
Peter Kern's wife.
I see. Mrs. Kern, do you come and volunteer in the office? How do you know how the phone system works in the office?
Because I've worked in an office with a phone.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we're getting
Thank
a
you.
little bit further along. We do have the recordings, things we're taking care of. I think we're good. And I think we should probably leave it at that, Don. For the record, also, Van Nelson arrived. He's here now, so we have 4 members. And my guess is because we moved from 10 o'clock to 9:30, this may have been a problem. I almost showed up at 10 until I reread the minutes, so. Treasurer's office, yeah. Money problems. So, well, thank you for coming. I appreciate it. Hey, with that, the forms log, and I think that's what we were on, right?
We were on VA forms log,
Yeah,
correct?
okay. I'm sure whether they're in the office, a lot of stuff goes through the phones, the cell phones and whatnot. On my cell phone, I do have a log of anybody that calls, whether they leave a message or not. So you can always get back to those if need be. I think they did a good job as they were away, keeping up with the business of the office, even though they were at the meetings. So on that point, I think we will put that to rest. Let's move to number 10 then, budget report.
I'm not sure my agenda looks different than yours. The budget report is number 11.
Oh, I must have gotten 2 of them. I'm not sure.
Oh. Yep. If you go into the packet and the updated one, this was a request. I think that's where we got lost is number 8 is actually review chapters and respond to strategic planning committee. I have to have that review turned in by tomorrow. I think that's where it got messed up.
So did I miss anything on the other report or the other form? What I have here, it's may not be the same as what you have, so you'll have to guide me.
You should be able to pull it up in your packet.
Here's here in front of me. Consent. Okay, Clint helped me to find the one that's here. So we're talking about number 8, correct?
Correct. If you want to finish with budget report, then we can jump back to 8.
Okay, let's do that. The budget report was there. A lot of that we have really nothing to do with because all that goes through finance.
Correct.
Over the last couple of years, things have changed tremendously with the addition of county administrators. Some of the jobs that we had done here are no longer with us, and Karen deals with the finance and personnel department for some of the other items. So it's simply a report that we look at, and I don't think there's a whole lot that we have to do with that. So having said that, is there anything that you'd like to add or inform us on that's different or new, Karen?
No, none at this time.
Okay. So if I'm looking at the numbers, if anybody has any questions, I'll entertain them. Otherwise, we can move on.
One question.
Shoot, Don.
Has the staff been reimbursed for their mileage, lodging, meals, and other expenses related to the conference in Fond du Lac?
Karen?
They have.
And
Okay.
what was the total of those expenses?
They are filled out on different forms. So
I understand that, but it should be in your monthly expense report.
Correct, if you wanted to review that. But as Commissioner Nelson sits on the committee with us, you can ask him the last time that the audit committee was called because nothing gets done until after that.
Well, but you've already turned those bills in, I'm sure, haven't you, from October?
Correct.
You know what the bills were, don't you?
For each form,
You know what your expenses were on your budget. I mean, you watch your budget very carefully, I'm sure.
correct,
So you know what your expenses were,
correct.
and how does that relate to your annual budget? Are you over budget in any of those categories? Are you within your budget?
Within my budget, correct. You can review the forms
No,
if you'd
no,
like.
I'm not. I'm
Okay.
not. I'm asking you questions. I'm not asking you to tell me what to do.
Okay, Clint has a
I
comment.
would like a report, Mr. Chairman, at the next meeting on what the status of those expenditures were and what the balance remaining in each category for the budget.
Okay, I'd call on Clint to maybe speak to that topic.
No,
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
So I think what Commissioner Seat may be alluding to is on some of our budget items within the individual budgets, we have overages on the different object numbers. Overall, the budget in its entirety we're under, and it looks like we're trending to be well under. But the different object codes are in fact over on some lodging and some other expenses. So some of that has to do with placements on where the funds are allocated for the individual objects, but overall we are under. Is that the point that you're trying to make, Mr. Commissioner Seep?
Well, I'm just trying to make a point that we are entitled as a committee to have accountability of expenditures by an employee of the county on a monthly basis, and that's all I'm asking for.
Okay, is that something we should, Aaron, could you bring that to this committee at our next meeting? Just that, you know, the stuff related to that meeting so that we settle this problem. I really don't see this as a problem because this is done through finance. We really have nothing to do with it.
this
Let
is,
me ask Van to speak to this since he's on that committee.
Mr. Chair, not to speak on behalf of Van, but Van's on the auditing committee that would approve the vouchers that would go through for the payments of the bills and release of payments. So
Okay, that was my mistake. So, Van, did you have anything to comment on or say about that?
I was.
I'm sorry, I can't hear Van.
he's trying to get it to work right now, Supervisor Seep. We're having a microphone issue. Stand by. Okay.
But this is not unusual. Other committees I'm on, Health and Human Services, ADRC, some of those, every month, we're told how the budget is trending, whether we're where we should be, or whether we're low, or whether we're not, and I don't see that's a problem. It should happen every month.
no, if,
Again, this would be an opportunity. If there's something particular that the body would like to see, it would be most beneficial if we could put it into an action type of language, and if you could motion in second. That way we know what the expectation is going forward into the next meeting and what the minutes should look like to reflect.
Okay, Don, would you like to make a motion to that effect?
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that the CVSO, who's responsible for management of her budget, and is accountable to the Veterans Service Committee as an oversight committee, should provide monthly a list of whatever expenditures there are in relationship to the budget and to indicate where the budget is and what remaining balance is available on a monthly basis, not just on a year-to-date basis. And in particular, I asked this time for an accounting of the expenses related to the training conference in Fond du Lac. And that's all I'm asking for. I think as a committee, I have a responsibility to oversee the expenses on a monthly basis. Now we hear this, well, all we had was a phone bill. That's fine. When we have expenses, we want to know about it. And if there are planned expenses, we want to know about it because we may want to either approve or disapprove of them. So that is my motion, that we be provided a particular statement of expenses on a monthly basis, expenditures from the office on a monthly basis. That's the manager's the CBS responsibility to account to us as a committee. We are a committee of the county board, and the county board holds us accountable for that responsibility.
Okay, having heard the motion, is there a second? Okay, Van Nelson seconds that motion. Now discussion. Karen, you had something to say?
So as the county board policy, is that committees.
It's a
that meet-
committee policy. And this committee is an agent of the county board.
So
Karen,
as
Karen's got the floor, Don.
the county board policy is that committees that meet every month have to put out a monthly expenditure bill. However, especially during this transition period where we don't know if we're going to be a monthly meeting committee, that rule has never applied to me before. So that's why I've never instilled or used it, is because only monthly committees. And we are still in the process of trying to determine if this is going to be a monthly meeting or not, or if we're going to be a quarterly meeting or an every other month as we were in the past. So that's the reason why I don't put an expenditure list out, because county board policy says that I don't. Now, if you would like one specifically for next month, I have in January, I have no problem. That's no problem at all. Thank you.
That comment is just a distraction. Whenever we meet, we expect accountability.
Okay, Clint, do you have any other comment on that subject? Sherry?
Question, is there a line item where training/conferences fit into? I guess I'm not seeing it on the expenditure guideline. Maybe that's the confusion.
There's 3 different pages, or there's
I
3.
see them.
Okay,
Yes.
so yep, there's a couple of different ones that we can pull from pools of money.
But it's not specifically annotated for
It is.
training/conferences. I guess I'm just not seeing that.
Conference fees, training fees, hotel fees, travel
I
fees.
did see the hotel. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So they are included in this.
Correct.
Because all of the expenses are on that sheet, but each one is individually accounted for. If you would take the time to go through it, it's all there. It's in black and white.
It is all there, correct.
So, because you do that each meeting, because you do that at each meeting with this particular report, my thought is that the information that Don is seeking is already there.
Correct.
And with having said that, if we were to pass this motion, what we would be doing is essentially what we are already doing. It's all there in front of us. So without any further ado, let's kind of take a vote on it.
I'd like to just affirm what the motion was. There was a lengthy bit there, and
Yeah.
Again, I'd like to need to know specifically kind of what you're after, what the motion language is. So if we could just reaffirm what the motion language is out of there and what.
I move that the board be provided with a detailed report of monthly expenditures.
That matches what you had intentions with Supervisor Nelson with the. Thank you. I do appreciate it.
Okay, so that's very plain and simple and forward. And having heard that, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay. So we'll move then from the budget report to public input. Do you have anything to say? Yes, ma'am. Would you please come to a mic and state your name?
Marie Rako, and I live in the center.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the name.
Marie Rako, I know you, Don.
Speak into the mic. I don't know if that one's working.
I'm Marie Rako, and I know Don Seif. I was on some committees with him, and I'd like to. I had an experience. I could say this personally, but I want to make sure I don't miss anything, so I'm going to read it. My husband was a vet of the Navy. He served for 4 years during World War II. He enlisted when he was 17 years old, right out of high school. While in the Navy, he experienced many things. He was hung up on a reef while on a crash boat. He was knocked down the hatch when his ship was bombed and broke his ankle and injured his back and was in the ship hospital for 6 weeks. He also was on the atomic bomb test where he was affected so much with radiation he temporarily lost his hair. And when they told him and the rest of the crew when they tested him, the radiation tester went wild. They were told it was not good. 2 months after he got out of the Navy, the aircraft carrier he was on was decommissioned. I'm sure it was because the ship was so contaminated with radiation. Several times, my husband contacted the Veterans Organization for help when he had health problems, Navy injuries, but never got any help. He died of prostate and lung cancer, never receiving any help from the veterans. I contacted the Richland Center Veterans Office a couple of times some time ago and was treated very coldly. The last time I went to get a flag holder for my son's Army grave marker, the person in charge there was not nice at all and made me feel like I was asking a big favor. Finally, being a widow with a fixed income and having a hard time paying $300 a month for health insurance, I got desperate and thought, well, I'll try the veterans again, one more time, and see if I could get veterans insurance since my husband was a veteran. So I went to our veteran service officer, now Karen Knock, and her helper, Pete. I was greeted very warmly, and when I told her my problem, she took the ball and ran with it. She found out all about my husband's duties and being on the atomic bomb test. She said, we need to check this out. She worked so diligently, supplying all the answers needed, which they were asking for, and all the while she made me feel like she was happy to do it. To make a long story short, after 10 months of her hard work, I got an amazing settlement, free health insurance, a check for around $15,000 dating back to when Karen first started working on my claim, and $1,357 a month for the rest of my life. How awesome is that when I only came in for health insurance? After all the years when my husband should have been helped, as a very dedicated young woman, Karen Knock and her helper Pete from our Richland Center Veteran Office worked miracles. Karen Knock is so awesome as a veteran service officer. I hope you appreciate what a hard worker and great person you have. And I'd like to say something to Don Seif. I've been on the city council for 11 years. I worked with a lot of people. I never heard anybody attack any person like Don has Karen. And I really think it's a shame because you have such a hard worker and such a good person in this office. I just think that, Don, you better appreciate her. Thank you.
Hey, Marie, first off, let me thank you very much for your testimonial and thank you for your husband's service. And I think as veterans, all of us, we're very much here for you as a widow of a veteran. And Karen or whoever happens to be in that office, that is their duty. And I'm so pleased to hear your report. Thank you.
Yes, I mean, a little town of Richland Center has a veteran officer that would take care of all these problems that we were in Arizona. When he died, we were in Arizona. Nobody would help him out there.
Oh.
So I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Um, Unfortunately, many veterans have been overlooked. I was at the beginning of the Vietnam era, and when you consider how Vietnam vets were treated when they were returned home, it's bad. And we've got those that are now coming back from the Middle East, and in some cases they're alone. We've got a lot of people that are homeless. We, as a veterans organization, group, committee, commission, we owe it to them to do the very best that we can to help people like Marie and anybody that's in dire straits. I mean, that's the least we can do. As a veteran, I donate money to the wheelchairs for vets and all these others. This is something the government ought to be doing. If they brought these people in, if they sent them to war, if we've got people that are wounded or mentally affected by what they have seen or done, it is the government's responsibility to take care of those that they took under their wing and had them fight for us. And if any civilian out there doesn't appreciate it, Soviet Union or Russia would be a good place for them, I guess. But that's my personal thought. So, Marie?
I think you can't imagine what this meant to me.
I can. Maybe not personally as you feel it, but I definitely appreciate your talking. Thank you.
Thank you all for.
So, I think that is settled then. We've got any other public input? Marie spoke. Anybody else want to say anything? Okay. Well, thank you for being in attendance. We have future agenda items. Karen?
Mr. Chair, I think we should revisit number 8 now.
Okay.
Review chapters and respond to strategic planning committee. The email that I sent out
Yes.
probably about 3 weeks ago, I guess it was already,
Yes.
just for your review and comments on. And then it's also in the packet.
Yes. Is there anybody that wants to add anything to that or question anything or?
I
Can
can
elaborate on it if that's okay. So this was a request from your strategic planning committee. I think Lee, you've participated in several of those types of meetings.
Yes.
The questionnaire that really came out was getting a perspective from the committees on how the language is going to impact services or oversight on services and how you see it kind of fitting into the overall goal of the organization, as well as then your specified committees. Some committees that I've been involved with have a lot of information that they want to add to it that they feel it's going to impact. Others feel that it's not going to be as impacting. These were also, I think, solicited individually or asked individual supervisors and departments to solicit feedback. The first chapter is kind of really based at organization on the goals, the mission statement, the vision, some of the key criteria for evaluating non-mandated type services. And then number 2 kind of talks in regards a little bit more into the 4 key goals, which is kind of really in-house reorganization is most of it. Number 4 with growth in the community, it does have some community type impacts on focuses on economic developments and housing and initiatives and those types of deals. So, so this is really just kind of an opportunity again, if there are suggestions that you see on languages that should be added, amended, clarification, it's an opportunity to, again, make a motion and second to try to forward on an opinion as a body to the Strategic Planning Committee. As you may have heard, Chair Glassbrenner and myself were on WRCO yesterday kind of talking about it as well. One thing that we've kind of identified a little bit later in the game, but just kind of the nature of the document is it's really kind of focused at an audience of county board supervisors. So trying to digest it and understand the context of what some of the language means without being necessarily privy to previous county board discussions or budget conversations or other conversations that I've had by Richland Economic Development Committees and such, kind of, it can leave some question to it. So if there was also, for what you felt needed more clarification to put context surrounding some of the ideas, that would be another appropriate thing to potentially ask or inquiry or suggest on. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you. As I read through it, and I was on several other committees that took up the same subject, and there were some minor changes that were made in a couple of them. But as far as the veterans are concerned, I didn't see anything that needed tweaking. Did anybody else in their reading of this see anything that should be added or expanded upon? Karen?
Mr. Chair, if it's okay, I'd like to just go through each question and then maybe somebody could have something that
Certainly,
comes
please
up in their
do.
mind. So if
do.
there's no comments, I'll just move on to the next question and so forth. The first one, after reviewing the drafted chapters, what questions do you have with the language itself, or which sections could use further explanation to frame context? It's just their way of saying, we can't cover everything, but is there anywhere you really want us to go deeper into with the verbiage that was in the reading material?
Being the person.
Mr.
that's in
Chairman.
charge.
Mm.
Yes, Don?
Yes, Ms. Knock, you manage the department. Do you have any suggestions?
This is kind of committee specific. My responses to them have yet to be drafted. I was waiting to hear from yours before I combined them.
What could you share with us what you were thinking at that time?
Well, I've been trying to listen in on the strategic planning. I really think they're going in the right direction. There's a lot. They are really putting their whole hearts into discussing this and delving into every aspect of it. So I really don't have a lot. I mean, like I said, me and you both have been on the strategic planning committee meetings, and I think they're going in the right direction. I myself don't really feel like at this time that I have much to add.
So everything as it stands is good with this committee in your office? There's nothing else that needs to be added or?
Well, and that's what I mean, is that they want this to be reviewed by the departments and the committee. So this is just your opportunity for me to type anything down, anything that you have to, that you want to share.
Well,
So
personally, I didn't see anything. Sherry or is there anything that, Karen, as you went through this, did you see anything that would be, that we should change or reconsider or maybe alter a bit?
no, this is, I thought maybe that Mr. Metz might actually have something to add, because he's got a lot of personal experience with this, but I didn't hear back from him with any comments, so. All right, should I move to the next question?
First off, Clint, do you have any suggestions in that very first part as being a veteran yourself?
I don't, not in context of this meeting. My input to it is I've been a part of each meeting and been able to express myself through the context of the discussion, right, with the committee. I will say that, as I kind of talked about with chapter 2, you can see it, things are shaped very organizationally based. As your first strategic plan as a county, it's kind of looking at restructuring and how we're doing things within our walls. I would say as the plan evolves and probably future sessions, future generations, it'll probably begin to morph into something that's more community impacting. And that's a little bit of an administrative bias. I'm trying to get the house set before you reach out and do other impacts.
Okay, thank you. Karen, would you go to the second one, please?
In context of the services you help provide or oversee, what concerns do you have with the drafted language?
I don't think there were any. Is there any? Karen, was there anything as you went through that you saw that needed to be adjusted?
No, the verbiage speaks really well, I feel.
Okay, Clint, was there anything else on point 2?
As far as it impacts you folks as a committee and as a veteran service department, I really, again, had a broader view of it. So
As I read that through, it seemed to me everything was in fairly good order, and maybe as things unfold, they could be tweaked a bit. But at this point, I don't see anything that needs to be changed. What was the third item then?
In context of the services you help provide or oversee, what recommended amendments, additions, or deletions would you offer to the chapter's content? Do keep in mind that additional chapters are under development. So just as it reads today, not necessarily how it reads in a month.
Aaron, did you see anything there that should be added or changed?
No, I think the verbiage is good. It speaks to statutory recommendations to each specific office versus services that you choose to provide. So I like the language as it stands.
Okay. Clint, any comment?
You'll see, and it has kind of been expressed, was tracking on it, through the operational performance matrices, which is on page 9, the discussion points that have been had with the strategic planning committee is a lot of that's going to be captured through department then work plans. So you can imagine your strategic plans, and then you get down to the more the department level. It's going to be what are the operational plans to kind of support the strategic goals. So a lot of things that are going to impact, again, departments, and not to pick on smaller departments, but smaller departments is going to be the work plan, then the actual movements and changes to the pieces to support the overall strategic plan. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. So I think that's good. Next point.
D, in context of the services you help provide or oversee, do you see any conflicts with the drafted language in your current operations? No, I don't have any conflicts with how it reads.
Okay. Anybody? Sherry? Don?
No, I'm mostly interested in whether there are issues that may impact the management of the department, and if Ms. Knock doesn't have any problems with it at present, I don't see why we should interfere with that.
Thank you. Clint, anything on that?
I don't, but I'm going to begin packing up. I apologize, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to add before you have to leave?
Nope, thank you for your time.
You're certainly welcome. Thank you for attending.
And then the final is just if you have any additional comments.
So far as I'm concerned, everything is good. Clint is happy with it. Anybody else on the commission want to suggest anything?
The only comment that I would have when I do this is that the county and city are actually working hand in hand now, and that's a really nice change. It is benefiting literally everyone in the county by Richland Center and Richland County working together. So I would just want to say thank you. just to continue with that, because it does affect housing and businesses and community. So I that's the only comment that I would have, that please continue your work, I guess.
Okay.
How does that relate to your office?
By encouraging more veterans to come into the community. By moving here, they're giving low-cost housing for veterans. Some are actually required by contract. That affects my office.
And have you seen a lot of that activity?
There are new veterans that come in almost monthly, yes.
Okay, that would be interesting to have an accounting of those at our next meeting.
That can be part of the report about, how things are going with the office. So we'll just incorporate that, okay? Future agenda items, anything else we need to consider? No, we don't need to do anything further with that, right? Our suggestion.
No,
the
nope.
topics that you brought up.
Correct.
There was really nothing that directly affects us in any way. Everything that's been written by the committee, and it's a very well-founded meeting. I think it's extremely important that we do this, and I think in time things may begin to gel and maybe make a positive effect with what we do. So maybe in time, as things continue to progress, we can make suggestions. So we'll just kind of leave it at that then. Future agenda items, anything more? Karen, we've got that one about the adding Clint toward the beginning, because if we move back to 10 o'clock, I'd like to hear from him. So maybe just administrative report, just something simple, and just have that as a permanent part of our thing, because if Clint continues to come, we'll have that opportunity, and if not, we can just skip over it. Anything else that we should bring up? Okay, so future agenda items, it's pretty much as it's been set. Set the next date for our next meeting. That's some major drainage going on.
So as far as the future agenda item, or excuse me, the set date for next meeting, just so that you have something in front of you, I printed off copies of the 2022 calendar. I'll pass that out now.
So my suggestion is that we, not meet next Monday, next month because of the holidays. And it's gonna be, a very busy time of year, I think, for all of us. My suggestion is that we meet on January 20th, for our next meeting. Let's move it back to 10 o'clock. Because that way we don't have to be here so early, and Clint, if he has anything to say, can say it at the very beginning because he's got to leave early. So let's make it January 20th at 10 a.m. here. Any other suggestions, any other thoughts, any objection? So do we all concur? Okay. This way we're going to be meeting after the other committees meet. So some of the items that we discussed at this meeting, we should have answers for by that time. So we can move forward with that then. Anything further that we need to discuss? Hearing nothing, I would accept a motion to adjourn.
Adjourn?
Okay, Sherry Hillesheim makes the motion and Van Nelson makes the second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
No one's opposed. This is good. Meeting adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very much for attending the meeting. All the civilians.